I want my family to know that now that you know I'm a sex worker, it shouldn't radically change your idea of me.
I like doing what I'm doing, and my family supports me, my sisters and their children, they know what I do. It's a job, that's what it is. It's flexible, it gives me the time to do what I want to do, even if it means playing with my cats and dogs and fish in my garden.
When I told you about my work, you asked me what went wrong, what did we do wrong to make you choose to do such a horrible thing. Well, nothing went wrong. Nobody makes me do anything, and it's not horrible. I like my work and I choose it. It's always been my choice. You're not responsible for my choices in the same way that I'm not responsible for yours. I know you hope that it will pass, but I think after all these years it's safe to say that it's not going to pass. It's not a phase.
It was the one job that fitted around my daughter, my study and my health, and it's had a really positive impact on both of our lives in a lot of ways, but the stigma around sex work has been difficult for both of us.
I feel like I'm able to access so many more amazing opportunities for myself through doing sex work than would ever be possible for me without it or in any other job, particularly at my age. Sex work enables me to have more time to spend doing things that are important to me. It gives me more time to spend with you. It gives me the ability to travel and see stuff that I'd never be able to otherwise.
You came up with all these reasons to justify your discomfort, to justify your phobia. You question my safety. Well, I'm no more at risk at my work. In fact, I think I'm less at risk than many people in many other jobs that I can think of.
We have very low rates of STIs, lower than the general population. But even a sex worker contracting an STI, that's just a workplace hazard. That should come under OH&S, no different to if a builder had an accident. But for some reason, also because it's sex and also because it's sex work, it's this terrible, shameful thing that it really shouldn't be.
I know that you think when a client comes to see me, they just hand over the money and they can do anything they want. That's not what happens. I'm very clear on what I will provide, what they're going to get during the time they're with me, how much it's going to cost, and it's a heavily negotiated service. You don't need to be concerned about me.
This is a decision that I've weighed up the pros and cons in doing, and you're not the only one that's concerned about my safety. Obviously it's really important to me too, and I've decided that I can do this job and be safe in it. If you really want to make me safer in what I do, you can help change your attitudes to sex work and help change other people's attitudes to sex work that are what caused my industry to be criminalised, which means that I don't get basic OH&S stuff that I would in other industries.
My job hasn't brought me social isolation, it's brought me community and family and belonging.
I've also made good friends through sex work. Lots of sex workers I know are also single parents, and so we can support each other like that.
You said I was wasting my time. Well, I've learnt so much and I've gained so much from my work. It is skilled work, it is my choice and it always has been. And I'm happy, and ultimately that's all that should matter to you.
It's not always sex. It's the company, the time, the investment one puts in, the intimacy, the caringness, the warmth, the communication. Because there are so many lonely people on this planet. And sometimes when I'm lonely too, I need company. And there were times where clients, they walk in with the similar chemistry and vibration. And so we have a very good time.
I've been told that my grandmother, Nanny, pretty much raised me for the first 6 years of my life until she passed away. And even though Nanny isn't here for me to talk to about this, I do believe that she would be totally okay with it because she loved me unconditionally. And to be loved unconditionally by anybody is a huge deal these days, and I am truly grateful. I do still feel her love, and I know deep down that she would say to me, as long as you're happy, as long as you're doing your best, learning and living a good life, then it's all good. And that gives me hope.
My daughter doesn't know entirely what I do. I actually would prefer it if she did know more. My main reason why she doesn't know more is I don't want to put her in a position where she has to lie to people. I get really scared that if she knew what I did, it would get used against me, and people would think that it's not appropriate for a 9-year-old to even have a parent who is a sex worker, let alone to know what their parent does. I think there would be ways to tell her that would be appropriate for a 9-year-old. Most people don't tell their children every little detail about their job. You wouldn't expect a brain surgeon or a nurse or something to tell their children the graphic details of their work, but their children still know what they do. I really do wish I was in a position where my daughter could know more about my work, so I don't feel like I'm lying to my daughter.
I certainly never meant for you to find out. I never meant for anyone else to find out. And God, the way we reacted to finding out that I was queer, that it was probably going to be a problem, that it definitely was, but the way you reacted, I don't think I could ever have been prepared. It's one thing to be turned away from, to be shunned, and look, I've experienced that, being queer and being from a small town and from a religious upbringing. But to find out that you're going around telling people I'm dead, telling people we grew up with that I'm dead, telling your children that I'm dead, I don't even know how to get my head around that. How the fact that I'm a sex worker, that what I do for a living could make you hate me that much, when I still want to love you.
It is family and heart and togetherness and being there for each other that really matters, and that we all make different choices for whatever reason, and that, you know, they're our choices and we all deserve to have them. So knowing that I can be around you and not have to edit myself or hold things back from you makes it so much easier.
When I decided to come out to you, it was like a huge weight had lifted off my shoulders. The next decisions I had to make was how and when I was going to have that conversation with you. And I had to think about what would be appropriate for our relationship and what would work for us. I had to think about what would work for me. We sat down, we were talking, you were really upset, I got upset. And so I was pleased that I had planned ahead for my friend to come and pick me up and to take me physically away so that you and I could put some of the conflict that we're experiencing to one side and have a break from that conversation and return to it later.
You know, just because there's sex involved, or can be, it doesn't suddenly become this other thing. And I think if people just accept that, then, I mean, personally, I know I'd feel more comfortable to be able to share the ups and downs of my work with my family, and I'd feel a lot less kind of alone, or not necessarily alone, but just sort of like there's this kind of wall between myself and my family, and a lot of that is just, you know, they know what I do, which is great, but then I need to present a certain image of it for them to feel comfortable with it. You know, sometimes work is great and sometimes it's really shit, and most of the time it's just alright, like most jobs. But this is the best thing I've probably ever done.
I'm not waiting to get another job in a different industry. This is a real job for me.
I find it strange that without any insight into my work, you have automatic oppressive views on sexual expression and sex work. I wonder if you ever question how these opinions got there, and if they are your own views, and maybe are you just reenacting reactions you've blandly picked up through our homophobic society and a need to fit into the majority view. If you love me, please do work on becoming more supportive of sex workers. If you can't, I'm afraid I'm just as ashamed of you as you are of me.
I know that there's a lot of stigma in our society about sex work, and I know that this can extend to my family, to my parents, that people can think that you should be disappointed or ashamed in me for being a sex worker, that you should tell your daughter to stop doing sex work. But I'm really glad that you haven't listened to people who've said things like that you've just listened to me and seen that I'm happy in my work, and that the best way to support me is to be proud of who I am, because I'm proud of what I do and who I am.
I'm not ashamed of my work, and you don't need to be either.
To know that I am a mother first, and that every decision I've made, including the one to do sex work, was made because it was the right decision for me as a mother and for my children at the time. You must know that what I do for a job doesn't change the fact that I'm a good mum. I've tried to protect my children from the stigma and discrimination that the outside world puts on sex workers, which is why I've made the decisions I've made about when, what, and how I tell them about my job. If you want to make it easier for my children, you could be careful about the things you say about sex workers, not just when we're around, but all the time, because you never know who's listening.
To my gorgeous brother, when your teenage bro friends laugh about killing prostitutes on a video game, stand up for me. When they like strangling hookers on their Facebook page, stand up for me. When your girlfriend asks you if she looks like too much of a whore today, stand up for me. When I witness your silence firsthand when this goes on, it hurts.
I hope just by doing projects like this we can create our own narratives and, we can help our families understand more about what we do.
Mum found my first pair of 6-inch stripper heels when I was 20, and really I've been taking my clothes off since I was 3 years old in the supermarket. What can I say? I'm a lifer in this industry.